So today I wanted to do a quick video on a super lightweight way to carry gear that's really inexpensive also. I call it the Shemagh survival kit. You can call it whatever you want. But it's basically just my Shemagh wrapped kind of like a sling bag would be. And I'm going to get into it right now. Alright, so these are all the items laid out. It's really not that much. It's basically the 10Cs. It covers all my bases of survival out here in the wilderness if I were to get caught in some sort of situation. More than likely, it would be 72 hours or less. That's why there's no food in here. I've went way more than 3 days without food and was able to do just fine. You're not going to die. It's not going to kill you. The lack of calories sucks. You get pains and things like that, but it's not the end of the world. The most important thing is keeping your core temperature controlled and hydrating. Here in Florida, you don't have to worry about hypothermia, especially not this time of year. It's over 100 degrees most days with the heat index and in the 80s at night. So it's not really that type of an issue. But staying hydrated and keeping your body from getting too elevated heat-wise, getting a heat stroke is really important. That's why I have my stainless steel cup and bottle along with the stove. This is going to allow me to boil water. If I wanted to, I could make char cloth. I could make food if I found wild edibles, if I wanted to eat wild edibles, any of those types of things. Wanted to make a frog gig and gig frogs. We have a lot of frogs, and around this area, I'm right next to a cypress swamp. So this is an important item. Obviously, this is one of the 10Cs. All these are going to be adhere to the 10Cs. I have a headlamp. Obviously, this is important for, being able to navigate, especially at night, being able to see what you're doing, and it doesn't weigh anything. And I have some spare batteries in this case. Obviously, I have my knife, Battle Horse Knives Buckeye, trusted knife. I carried this with me in the field survival course, the Randall's Adventure and Training field survival course a couple of weeks ago. So I know this knife is basically indestructible. It was beat to hell and didn't have any chips or rolling of the edges, anything like that. I also carry an SAK with me at all times in my pocket, so I have that tool also as well. Obviously, a heavy meal trash bag is going to be important. This is heavier than the ones, heavier and more and substantially more durable than the ones that you would get at like Home Depot. I bought these offline. These are actually 6 mil. I took these to the Pathfinder basic course, and one of the things we had to do was fill these 55-gallon drum liners with what they called smalls, which were basically like pencil-sized sticks for fire making. And I had to drag these through the thick stuff in southeastern Ohio, briars, the thick woods over the hills and everything like that. And by the end of the class, I only used one. So many uses. It can be used for shelter, for collecting materials, for collecting water, as a poncho, as a browse bed. I mean, it's just such a useful piece of gear. Why not carry it? It doesn't weigh very much. This is from Exotac. I mean, they make such cool stuff. This has a bunch of items from the 10Cs on it, so I figured it's small and relatively lightweight. You have heavy-duty duct tape, you have a needle, and there's thread on it, which is basically a type of fishing line, which can be used obviously for fishing, as another type of cordage, for gear repair, etc. I have my Suntu compass, my map cards, and then a notepad. I obviously have my pace beads and a pencil. I have a map here in my back pocket from this wildlife management area. A lot of the wildlife management areas here in Florida, when you check in to the check-in area, they have like a pamphlet that you can grab, and it'll have regulations, information, and also has a topographical map in it. So usually when I go to an area, even if I know the area, I'll still grab one, especially if I don't know the area. It's really important to have that. This is an area I know really well. I've been coming here since I was a kid, so I know this area really well, but I still like to have one with me just in case. My silky pocket boy, I mean, why not carry a folding saw? It's just probably one of the most useful calorie saving items that you could ever carry. A smaller ferro rod. This one just has duct tape wrapped around for a handle. Honestly, the handles on most of the ferro rods aren't worth anything unless they're pinned, and they're not going to hold up. Even if they're glued on, they'll come off. As an example, a couple of weeks ago when I was at the field survival course in Alabama, one of my teammates had a light my fire ferro rod, and when we were doing one of the fire exercises, the handle broke off. So I just wrapped duct tape, just buy the blanks and wrap duct tape around it. Paracord, of course. I mean, there's so many uses for paracord. It doesn't even need to be really talked about all that much. And then obviously my Shemagh, which is my cotton material. It's just a really easy, lightweight way to carry a small amount of gear. This doesn't weigh anything, maybe a couple of pounds total, even with a full bottle of water. And it's just really easy to kind of just toss it over your shoulder like a sling bag or a haversack, and it doesn't cost anything extra because I already have a Shemagh, obviously, and I have the 10 C's of survivability in here that would be able to easily get me through a 72-hour scenario if that were to happen. Now, these are all going to depend on, your items are all going to depend on where you live, what kind of terrain you're dealing with, where you're going, how long you're going in these places for. This is just for me taking a day hike out into one of the local wildlife management areas. Also, here in Florida, like I stated previously, it's really, really hot most of the year, especially this time of year. So you're probably going to need a lot more gear if you live in a very cold environment. Well, you're not probably, you are going to need a lot more gear if you live in a cold environment. So, these are my items that I take out with me anyway, and this just makes it a lot easier and a lot more convenient to just kind of throw it over my shoulder really quick. And I have everything that I need to survive if I were to get in a situation. One last thing I want to talk about really quick before I end this video is, as you see, there's no man-made tinder in here, no emergency tinder. I'm doing that because I personally don't need to carry anything like that. When I'm out, I generally will grab stuff. I'll grab cedar bark, or I'll grab, palm fibers, or I'll scrape some bark from like a bald cypress, etc. I don't personally need to carry anything like that. If you wanted to throw like some aluminum foil nuggets or some Tender Quick tabs or maybe something like that in here, you could do that. I don't personally need to. I know my environment to the point where I feel comfortable just walking out and finding material to use, especially with a ferro rod. So that's just something I wanted to point out really quick before I ended the video, that I don't have any of that in here, but I feel comfortable personally enough with not carrying anything like that. If you wanted to throw something in there, you could. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you in the next one.